Just got back from vacation. I'm gonna have to tell you that it felt very good. And now it's time for a brand new video, and this time around, I'm gonna compare two plugins. Both are compressor plugins and both will also do upward compression. The first one is a brand new plugin found in CUBASE 11 called Squasher, and the second one is the Waves MV2. What is going on? Chris Elam here from Mixdown Online. Now let's jump right in and talk about Squasher, brand new plugin in CUBASE 11, and the famous Waves MV2 that I work with a lot, especially when mixing vocals. Now on my last live stream, someone asked me the question if it was possible to produce a video comparing the MV2 with Squasher, essentially to know if it was possible to get something close to MV2 using Squasher. So this is the perspective that I'm going to use in this video. I mainly use MV2 when working on vocals, also bass, piano sometimes. The MV2 is going to perform well. Now it is a very simple plugin like I'm going to show you. Both plugins are compressors and can also do upward compression, which is kind of a very cool feature found on these two plugins. So let's jump in CUBASE and check this out. Let's start with MV2. As you can see, it's a very simple plugin. We only have three controls. We first have the low level, which is basically upward compression, and the high level, which is the regular compression. And then we have the output level. So there's also an auto makeup gain, so the output control is going to be very useful to bring the level down when applying compression and upward compression. Now to understand how upward compression works, I'm going to compare it with regular compression. With compression, when the signal reaches the threshold point, the signal is brought down according to the compressor's parameters. With upward compression, it's going to do the opposite. Everything below the threshold point is going to be brought up, again, according to the parameters of the compressor. So the goal of using upward compression is to just bring up all those quiet parts of the signal, just so everything can sound a bit more upfront. So it will, of course, bring down the dynamic range of the signal since you're using upward compression and also compression. So by combining both, the dynamic range of the signal is going to be reduced, which can work well for vocals, bass, and stuff like that, you know. So let's try the MV2 on this lead vocal.
Médoc mortel, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Médoc est mental et ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne.
So now we're getting some regular compression, and then what I'm going to do here is to bring up the low level compression.
Médoc mental, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case.
Let's bring the output level down.
Médoc mental, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore.
Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bypass the upward compression.
Médoc mental, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Médoc est mental et ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la...
Now I'm overdoing it just a bit so you can hear the effect. Okay, so you can hear all of those quieter parts brought up, and that brings the vocal to sound way more upfront. Now, when we talk about attack-release ratio with the MV2, note that everything is automatic. All those compression parameters will be adjusted according to the amount of signal coming into the plugin itself. And it actually does the work very well, and that's why I really love working with this plugin. First, it's very simple to use, and it actually does a very good job. It sounds very, very good, and it applies upward and downward compression in a very musical way. So this is MV2 by Waves. Now let's jump and look at Squasher. Now we have a Squasher, which is essentially going to do the same thing as MV2. since you're going to be able to compress your signal and also to add upward compression. Now, in this video, even if Squasher can do way more than what MV2 does, I'm only going to focus on trying to mimic what MV2 gives me and try to do the same with Squasher. So I'm going to try to get close by applying Squasher on the same vocal track. And then I'm going to try this on a drum loop, okay? And there's some cool things that I want to show you that Squasher can do that is going to be very cool with a drum loop. So let's briefly look at what Squasher is offering us. First of all, again, way more complex plugin than MV2. It has 3 bands to start with, so you can apply upward and downward compression on 3 different bands. And you have full controls over all compression parameters, like the ratio that we have right here, the threshold for downward compression and also upward compression, and also attack release. And there's also a drive option and a gate, which I'm going to talk about later on. Then we have the mix knob right here at the bottom, which is going to blend the dry signal with the fully compressed signal. That can also be very useful. Now, if we look on top, we have 2 different views. We have the frequency view, and we also have the compression view. And this is what I'm going to use for this video. Then what I'm going to do is to reduce the bands to 1 band instead of 3 bands. So I'm only going to use 1 band of frequencies, which is going to be the full range. Okay, so first, let's look at the threshold point. So I'm going to bring down the threshold of my compressor. And if I bring up the ratio, now the ratio, as you can tell, is by percentage instead of a 2-to-1, 4-to-1, and so on. Okay, this one will go by percentage, but you can actually visually see it right here on top. If I bring the percentage up, the ratio is going to be brought up, okay, until you get to limiting. So I'm going to keep that one to maybe 30% or so. And then the same for upward compression. If I bring up the threshold, and this one I'm going to be a bit more aggressive. Okay, let's try this one out. I'm going to bring the threshold down to start, and let's listen to the same vocal take.
Médoc mental, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Médoc et mental et ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Respire, l'air la... Médoc mental, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Médoc et mental et ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore.
Okay, so it does a similar job than MV2, but I can tell that MV2 is automatic. All the parameters are automatic, and I can actually hear the difference. Where with Squasher, everything is manual, so you set that up yourself, which can be a plus. So I think this is actually pretty close. So the attack time is at 1 millisecond. I have a 100 millisecond of release. The drive is way down, and the gain is also way down. Now, talking about the gate, okay, let me bring you to the end of the chorus, okay? And this is an effect that upward compression is gonna do, especially when you don't have any more vocals going on. All the background noise is going to be brought up. Okay, let me just go back one bit. So you hear that noise? So if we go back to MV2, let's check what MV2 can do with this noise. It reduces it just a bit. Okay, not too bad. If we go back to Squasher. That noise is way louder. So I assume that the MV2 also has a gate that is automatic under the hood. This is what I assume because I don't get as much low noise, brought up into the signal. So this is actually pretty cool. Now, with Squasher, we have control on the gate level, and this is also a very cool thing.
Moo.
There you go. I just got rid of that noise. I'm going to go back.
Moo.
There you go. So just by adding a bit of gate, you're going to get rid of all that low noise when you don't have any vocals playing. And you have to be careful with that just to make sure you don't cut too much, but just look for the sweet spot and you will be good to go. So let's listen to this one last time in the context of the mix.
Médoc mortel, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Médoc est mental et ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ.
All right, let's listen with MV2.
Médoc mortel, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ.
Okay, let's try to compare both.
Médoc mortel, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent. Médoc mortel, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Médoc mortel, ma tête a mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ.
Okay, I can hear a little difference, but both sound pretty good in my opinion, But I kind of like how the MV2 reacts to the lead vocal when adding upward compression and downward compression. I've been working with the MV2 for a while, and I kind of like how it sounds like. But, if you're working only with stock plugins or you don't have access to MV2, I think Squasher does the job very well. It actually brings the effect very close to what I get with MV2. And this is in the context of comparing both plugins for the same type of job. Now, Squasher is a more advanced plugin, that's for sure. There's way more you can do with Squasher than what you can do with MV2. Let me give you an example on another session by working with a drum groove. So there's already some space around the drums, and this is what I'm going to bring up with upward compression. So if I just activate the MV2 on this drum groove, this is how it's going to sound like when I'm going to bring up that upward compression. Since the level of the reverb is lower than the actual drum sound, upward compression is bringing up that reverb, and everything sounds more upfront. Okay, now the cool thing when using Squasher is the control that you're going to gain, for this type of application. So now, what I did on this side is to add an extra band. So I have one band that is gonna manage everything above 100 hertz, and everything below 100 hertz I have another band. So the lower band, the only thing that I'm doing is I'm adding some compression, and my upward compression is actually pretty low. I'm actually going to bring it down, so I don't want to have any upward compression when it comes to the low frequencies. And now for the rest, for everything above 100 hertz, this is where I'm going to add a lot of upward compression to bring that reverb way up in the mix, and with also a bit of compression. So let's listen to how that sounds like. I'm going to first bypass the plugin. So it gives me a bit more control. So this way, if I want to have, like in this case, if I want to keep the kick drum, like the lower part of the kick drum, to a bit more drier without bringing up all those lower, quieter part of that signal of everything below 100 hertz, I can manage that with Squasher. And that is the beauty of this plugin, that multi-band option that we have. This is where it's going to be useful. So let's compare with MV2 for this one. So on the squasher side, my kick drum is a bit more drier, so this is the type of effect that I'm going to be able to get with squasher. So in some cases like this one, it's actually pretty useful. Let's listen to this drum groove now. Okay, let's open squasher. I kind of don't like what it does here. I wouldn't use MV2 for this type of drum loop. But for squasher, let me check what can we do with that. That is actually pretty cool. Okay, let me show you what I did here. First of all, I have two bands. Okay, so the first one I don't get any upward compression for everything below 100 hertz. Everything above 100 hertz, I added some upward and downward compression. And also I added some drive, and I also have 16 milliseconds of attack time, but the drive is actually adding some very cool tone to this band of frequencies. Now this is very nice, and I really like what Squasher is doing on this drum loop. This is the type of thing that can be done with Squasher, and there's way more stuff that can be done with this plugin. Like I said earlier, it's pretty much advanced. What you can do, you can also add some sidechain compression, internal or external sidechain if you activate those on every band. So this is actually pretty nice. So you can actually work with 3 different external sidechains with this compressor, which is quite nice. So this is my take on those 2 plugins. I like them both. I think I'm going to start working with Squasher a bit more. As far as mixing vocals, I still like MV2. MV2 is one of my go-to compressor plugins when mixing vocals. I really love how it sounds, how it reacts with all those automated parameters that we have. Whatever they do under the hood works very well on vocals, on bass. I used it also on piano. And also a very useful way to use MV2 or Squasher is on a lead electric guitar. That can also work very well. So Squasher is not going to dethrone MV2 for what MV2 is good at. As far as everything else, Squasher is quite awesome, and there's way more possibility that can be done with Squasher and everything that it offers. So both are dynamic plugins. They will compress and offer you upward compression as well. One is a very simple plugin, 3 controls, everything is automatic under the hood. And with Squasher, everything is manual. You have access to all parameters, even different bands, sidechain, and so on. So it is a more complete and complex plugin. Even if MV2 is still one of my go-to compressor plugins for vocals and bass, if I dig a bit more into Squasher, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some very cool results that is going to compete well with MV2. So there you go, my friend. This is my take on the MV2 and the Squasher from CUBASE 11. Now, if you want to put your hands on one of these plugins, Squasher is only available on CUBASE 11. It's available on Elements, Artist, and the Pro version, of course. And MV2 is a Waves plugin. I'm going to leave the link down below. Wait for a special. Usually they go on sale at 25 or 29 bucks or so. And there's also a 10% coupon code in the description down below for any Waves plugin. So my affiliate link is listed down below. So this is my take on the Waves MV2 versus the CUBASE 11 squasher. Leave your questions and comments down below. Also, I would love to know for all you CUBASE 11 users if you started to work with squasher, if you like it or if you don't like it. Let me know in the comment section down below, and also if you work with the Waves MV2. All right, my friend, until next time, take care and see you.